We have major breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. A federal judge has just blocked the freeze on Donald Trump's federal assistance executive freeze had blocked it indefinitely just today. What all does the legal breaking reporting detail? Let's find that out in today's video. This reporting is by NBC News. Let's get into it. I said NBC, I meant CBS. The article is titled, Judge Extends Block on Trump's Federal Assistance Freeze Indefinitely. By Melissa Quinn. And the article reads, Washington. A federal judge in Rhode Island barred the Trump administration from freezing federal assistance, extending the block he put in place weeks ago in a case brought by a group of 23 states and the District of Columbia while the case moves forward. U.S. District Judge John McConnell issued a preliminary injunction Thursday that prohibits agencies from halting the flow of federal funds awarded to the states through grants, contracts, or other financial assistance based on a memo from the Office of Management and Budget issued during President Trump's first days in office. Quote, the executive's categorical freeze of appropriated and obligated funds fundamentally undermines the distinct constitutional roles of each branch of our government, end quote. Judge John J. McConnell wrote, who was nominated by former President Barack Obama, wrote, quote, the interaction of the three co-equal branches of government is an intricate, delicate, and sophisticated balance, but it is crucial to our form of constitutional governance. Here, the executive put itself above Congress, end quote. The judge said that the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, order freezing federal funds across the government was, quote, without regard to Congress's authority to control spending, end quote, and found that the Trump administration failed to point to any statutory or constitutionally authority to impose the government-wide pause. Quote, the court is not limiting the the executive's direction or discretion, or micromanaging the administration of federal funds, end quote. McConnell wrote, quote, rather consistent with the Constitution, statutes and case law, the court is simply holding that the executive's discretion to impose its own policy preferences on appropriated funds can be exercised only if it is authorized by the congressionally appropriated or appropriations statutes, end quote. He said that the freeze has impacted an array of programs, including Head Start and other child care initiatives, as well as law enforcement and public safety agencies that rely on the federal dollars. New York Attorney General Letitia James, who is part of the coalition of states challenging the freeze, chaired the decision and reiterated that the power of the purse rests with Congress and not the president. My editorial edition. Quote, the Trump administration's illegal funding freeze jeopardized law enforcement funding, essential health care and children services or child care services and other critical programs that millions of Americans rely on, end quote, James said in a statement. McConnell had issued a temporary order at the end of January that ordered OMB, Office of Management and Budget, to keep federal assistance flowing. His decision, as well as a February order finding that the Trump administration failed to comply with that directive, has made him a target of Mr. Trump's supporters. He is one of several federal judges who have ruled against the Trump administration at the early stages of cases and faced threats of impeachment by congressional Republicans. Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with the article, these judges are getting impeached for the entire goddamn wrong reason. They are getting impeached for doing their job, which is not illegal. Now, what is wrong is them getting impeached all because of them not doing their job. But they're doing their job. So, in return, if they get impeached, they can go after Congress legally and constitutionally, and rightfully and legally, and lawfully, if that. Total bullshit. This has Donald Trump's name written all over it, as well as that moronic Congressman Mike Johnson. I wish I could give you guys the finger right now, but I am on a video platform. So, in return, I'm going to give you guys the middle finger off camera. You both are illegal assets of Russia. Same with Justice Alito, and same with J.D. Vance, as well as Elon Musk. You guys are the enemies of America. Continuing with the article. Weird. I apologize about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to get us back to where the article left off. Here we go. Nope, not there. Here it is. Picking back up where we left off, quote, the Trump administration's illegal funding freeze jeopardized law enforcement funding. Nope, that's not where we left off. This is where we left off. The case before McConnell was brought by the group of states and the District of Columbia in response to the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, memo issued in late January that called for federal agencies to temporarily pause grants, loans, and other federal assistance illegally, my editorial edition, programs that were implicated by Mr. Trump's executive orders. The memo targeted roughly $3 trillion in federal assistance programs. Shortly after it was issued, OMB, Office of Management and Budget, walked back the memo amid widespread chaos and confusion over what funds were at risk, but White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said only the memo was rescinded and the freeze itself would remain in force. The states brought their challenge to the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, funding freeze in late January and argued that the directive violated federal law and the separation of powers. In his decision, McConnell called OMB's Office of Management and Budget's pause on federal assistance, quote, indiscriminate and unpredictable, end quote. And he said it is, quote, disingenuous, end quote, to suggest that the challenged pauses, stem from independent agency decisions instead of the OMB Office of Management and Budget's directive. Quote, overall, the OMB Office of Management and Budget directive amounted to a command, not a suggestion, that agency defendants shall execute a categorical indefinite funding freeze to align funding decisions with the president's priorities, end quote, the judge wrote. He also noted that there is no evidence Mr. Trump followed the federal law that lays out the procedures for withholding or cutting money appropriated by Congress. The Impoundment Control Act, the law requires that the president, my editorial edition, to send a special message to Congress detailing the request to rescind or withhold funds, which McConnell said Mr. Trump did not do. McConnell wrote that the Trump administration, quote, abruptly froze, quote, billions of dollars in federal funding for an indefinite period of time. Quote, it is difficult to perceive any rationality in this decision, let alone thoughtful consideration of practical consequences when these funding pauses endanger the state's ability to provide vital services, including but not limited to public safety, healthcare, education, child care, and transportation infrastructure, end quote, he said. Similar challenges are underway in federal district courts across the East Coast. A judge in Washington, D.C. has barred the Trump administration from pausing federal aid. The OMB funding freeze is among an array of actions taken since Mr. Trump returned to office. That is part of his plan to shrink the size of the federal government and spending. He created the White House's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, to spearhead the effort. Which, ladies and gentlemen, may I remind you, is completely unconstitutionally and legally illegal and unlawful, and a complete abuse of power. Donald Trump cannot just create random ass agencies and do whatever the hell he wants. That is a complete abuse of power. And as Congress, or the Supreme Court, ruled the other day, he has to immediately unfreeze the funding. If not, he can risk being impeached for doing so, or for not doing so. Continuing with the article. Mr. Trump has said DOGE is led by Elon Musk, though the White House has claimed its acting administrator is Amy Gleason, who has worked for DOGE's precursor entity. Which one is it? Which one is it? Elon Musk or Gleason? Which one is it? You guys immediately lied to the judge. That was Judge Tanya S. Chutkan, who presided over this piece of shit, Donald Trump's election interference case for interfering with the 2020 election. Continuing with the article. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's legal breaking reporting analysis. If you did enjoy this legal breaking analysis reporting, please make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe, as well as enjoy. A couple things before the video gets closed out for the day. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe. If you would like to stay up to date, please make sure that you follow me on my social medias. That'll be linked down below. I am on Instagram, Snapchat, and Threads. There you guys can obviously be able to stay up to date on when I've posted a brand new legal analysis breaking reporting video to the channel. Another way you guys can stay up to date is if you guys hit the bell icon, which is right next to the subscribe button on the lower right hand side below the screen here. Another way you guys can also do that is by hitting the all icon instead of the personalized icon. That way you make sure that you get notified of every legal breaking analysis video. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next legal breaking reporting. Stay safe and healthy, and I will talk to you guys then.